So the best way to start off 2026 is to look back on what happened in the last year, but because covering an entire year would be crazy, we're gonna break this up just into what happened from July to December, and hopefully this coming July will cover what happened from January 2026 to the end of June 2026. But to begin, we're gonna break this up into three parts, into three videos, and the first one's gonna be about top performances. So when it comes to top performances, it should be noted sometimes it's really just the actor who's good, not necessarily the writing, not necessarily the story, or even the show or the movie as a whole. And when it comes to top performances, it can be multiple ones, like in the case of our first person, which is Odessa Zion. Now, when it comes to Pools and Marty Supreme, these are the two real roles that actually matter when it comes to her output of last year. Yes, she was also in Until Dawn and she was also in I Love LA, but Until Dawn is largely forgettable and she didn't necessarily play a notable role. And then when it comes to I Love LA, I would submit the idea that yes, she is a central part of the show, but at the same time, she doesn't necessarily get to flex her acting muscles. If anything, it just kind of puts her into that box of young, attractive performer. But when it comes to Pools My Supreme, things are very different. Pools is what I feel gives you a Zion at her best in this current state of her career. It gives you a vulnerability. It gives you a sense that she can be playful while and everything. It still show that there's still more to her than just being this sort of manic character who runs around, drinks, and is the life of the party. There's someone who could also give you heart, someone who can give you a reason to get emotionally invested, potentially cry with them. And I would even say with Marty Supreme, it kind of continues that sense. Marty Supreme is a bit different than what we often see as Iron. And since first watching her in Grand Army on Netflix a long time ago, in Marty Supreme, she's playing a love interest. And when it comes to her playing off of Timothy Chalamet, you see a character who is very much capable of being her own person, but is so much in love with this man that she's willing to show that she can do what he can do, and not in a way that competes with him, but a way that she wants to be able to show that she can complement him. And in their back and forth, I would submit that as much as Timothy Chalamet is getting major praise for his role in Marty Supreme, I think what ultimately helps his character isn't just his drive, his ambition, being willing to betray or crush anybody, but also Zion's character, who's able to show or help show a softer side to him and make it clear that his ambition isn't because he's just some bastard who wants to prove himself, that he isn't stuck into the fate of his family's shoe business or anything like that. But through her, I think there's a sense that he needs to become something, he wants to become something. And while he may have her support and a few others, what's the best way to put it? I feel like she is the key to his redemption arc in that movie, and not in some cheap way, but in a way that actually has some type of resonance. When it comes to the second of the five performances we're highlighting, it has to be Olivia Cook as Cherry and the girlfriend. And like many, I've been big fan of Olivia Cook since Bates Motel, and there was another movie she did when I believe she had cancer. I can't remember the name of it offhand. But I feel like when it comes to Cherry, what's different about this one is while you can get some sense that it's similar to some of her other roles where she's kind of having to build herself up, fight against a grand opposition in order to get what she wants and needs, similar to House of the Dragon, there's no fantasy element of it. There's no supernatural odd stuff. Instead, what you get is her getting to be a grown ass woman, taking on another one played by Robert Wright. And what makes this series especially good for Olivia Cook is that she isn't the protagonist or antagonist outright. The show shifts perspectives in the same episode, sometimes episode to episode. So Cook gets to give a full three dimensional view of who Cherry could be or who she is, which allows her to really stretch and pump up her acting muscles. And then, of course, with playing against Robin Wright, she has the best scene partner in order to really test herself. This leads to the third top performance, which for us would be Kyle Berry in the Hulu show Reasonable Doubt. And what we liked about Kyle's character is he's playing a young black child actor who, for this season, is the lead character, Jax's client. He's accused of murdering his girlfriend, and even though unfortunately it's not consistently done throughout the season, Mr. Barry is able to play up on the fact that with his character being an actor, he's able to not only manipulate characters on the show, whether it's Jax, whether it's the jury, but at times he can even, or at least he had the potential to perhaps manipulate you into wondering, is he someone capable of killing his girlfriend? Is he capable of perhaps convincing his entourage, family, whatever, to take the fall for him in order to keep making money, take care of them while they're in prison, and then when they get out? There's a lot of factors that admittedly aren't dived into in a way that we would have liked, but still, Barry does as much as possible with the material that he's given to tap into what could be done with his character. And it makes it so that, like the other names on this list, it makes it so while you want to see the specific production we're highlighting, you're going to also want to explore the rest of their filmography as well. Getting to the movies for top performances, the first one is going to be Judy Greer, and that's going to be for Dead of Winter. And the reason why we highlight Judy Greer is because, like most people, I know Judy Greer for playing in comedies and not necessarily being the top memorable character in the comedy, because she's more like a working actress type than the person who gets that huge blow up like Melissa McCarthy or Rachel Sennott did after Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. She's the one who keeps things moving along, does her job, gets in, gets out, doesn't get the memes, doesn't get to go viral. But when it comes to her role in Dead of Winter, she is playing someone who is, I believe, a nurse or maybe type of surgeon, and it's a much more dramatic role since this is a bit of a dark thriller. And to see her strip away all the comedic stuff and just get dark, be someone who's kidnapping this woman in order to take her organs and everything, it gives you a different side of her in a way that makes you appreciate the fact that she doesn't just have a career because she's possibly easy to get along with behind the scenes, knows her line, does her job, but because she actually has talent. She may have gotten typecasted or just found herself just taking on roles to make sure the money keeps coming in. But if she does ever decide to pivot, like quite a few comedic actors do, she can handle taking on darker roles and not only taking them on and doing what the director or writer want, but also present both the entertainment and kind of shock value for audiences to the point where they want to see more of her in these types of roles. Which leads to the last highlight, which is David Johnson for The Long Walk. And like most people on this list, this is not the first production we've seen Mr. Johnson in. We saw him in, I'm about to say the interview, Industry, when it came out for its first season. I think he was also part of the second season a little bit. And since then, he has done Aliens, amongst other things. But when it comes to The Long Walk, this was, I think, one of his first major starring film roles. And in some ways, I feel like he didn't necessarily save the film, but he's the only character I really do remember. Because as much as you can get into the other lead, who's is such a blur in my mind, I can't even remember what his name was. He had charisma. Johnson gave presence, and he just made it seem like, even though he's not part of the discussions for winning a major accolade, and to be clear, this is not a list about people who should be getting nominated or winning Oscars, Emmys, Golden Globes, or anything like that. I do feel that when it comes to Johnson in The Long Walk, if he wasn't in it, it would make this movie, even with the Stephen King backing, it would definitely make this more of a pretty much similar to The Running Man. Yeah, it may be a Stephen King adaptation, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily notable, memorable, and anything more than a cash grab. Johnson changed that, and with that, those are our top performances from the latter half of 2025. And in the next video, you'll see our top TV series, which honestly is a short list.